Okay, and we're recording. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. My name is Bethany Miller, and I am the 75th State President of JCI Mississippi. Tonight we have with us JCI USA immediate past President Justin Wetsky, who serves on the US Jaycees Foundation Board, as well as Senator Terry Collette, who also serves on the foundation board. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell us just a little bit about the USJC Foundation, and then we'll take some questions.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, what you already, yeah, I'm Justin Wetsky. I guess just as the national president, I serve on the foundation for 3 years as DNP as president and then past national president. And then last year, the board decided that the past national president would sit on this grants committee and kind of help be that liaison that really grants the access to everybody to have information and to just be on the inside from both angles and be able to help communicate this opportunity.
And I am Terry Collette. I am a senator from Illinois by way of Pennsylvania. I got my JC experience in both Illinois and Tennessee, and then went to Pennsylvania. I am a trustee for the foundation, and I do it because I credit the JCs for my life. It is the experience I got in JCs that gave me a career that was very successful. And I want to give back, and I want to make sure that the JCI is still around for the new generations. And that is how many of our trustees feel. We have 10 trustees, elected trustees, and many of them, probably 80%, are past national presidents. We have a couple world presidents on it, and they just want to give back to the JCs for everything that they got. So, do you want me to give the history, Justin?
Yes.
Okay. So the JCI Foundation, US Jaycees Foundation, started in 1943. We put together the War Memorial Fund, and the purpose was to raise money to build a national office in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They started with just a few $1,000s, and that fund has been around since then, since 1943. We built an office, we extended the office as we grew as an organization and needed more space in Tulsa. We had a presidential house, we had an executive director house, all in Tulsa. And then when we started to not need as many staff members through the years, we sold the big office and built a smaller office. We still own that, but it is being sold by lease. And so we have a monthly income coming in from that, the sale of that building. And then, of course, we moved to St. Louis. And so all of that money still sits in the foundation. And then the USJC Foundation started in 1968. And that foundation's purpose was to financially support local chapters and state organizations. When we sold the properties in Tulsa and moved to St. Louis, the War Memorial Trust and the foundation merged as one organization. And so that's what we are today. Our official name is US Junior Chamber of Commerce Foundation. You can find us at usjcfoundation.com. And our sole purpose is to financially support the JCI USA, movement. And right now, because of our membership, we are focusing on projects that will increase our membership and or work on retention of our members. And so that's where the board is focused right now, in trying to help the JCI USA be able to do that. And it's also a priority, I understand, of President Heather's for that membership. And so we're glad to be able to support that. Currently, we are in a third year of a 3-year commitment to the JCI USA. Sorry, I'm going to go back and forth. Of $100,000 donation to JCI USA. That money is for the national organization to use as they see necessary. And Justin, do you want to talk about what typically that has been focused on for the last 2 years and now the third?
Yeah, it's usually the president works with the team to create a plan of action and to implement some new concepts and ideas that are going to create opportunities for retention and grow the organization. I know that it's been helped to create the Fellows Program in the past. I really utilized it to support our North American Academy endeavor. And then Heather and her team, President Heather and her team are working currently right now on some of these cool new keynote speakers and the classes that he's going to be offering monthly. And as well as in 2020, we took money as well to invest in our Gen Z specialist, Caitlin Cromit, former Toya winner, so that we could educate our chapters that are ready to get out there and to meet young people, to bring them into their ranks and share this opportunity.
Awesome. Also in 2021, we have committed to, in addition to the $100,000 that goes to the national organization, we've committed another $95,000 to chapter grants and state grants. And so that's what you all can apply for. And we are committed to spend that money. I can tell you, prior to COVID, I had been on the board for 1.5 years and we received 0 applications, grant applications from chapters. When COVID hit in May of last year, we received our first application, and by December, we had gotten over 40 grant applications. And we believe that it was because, as you all know, the chapters couldn't hold fundraising, but still wanted to do community projects. So I believe we gave around 38, 40 grants last year, amounting to around $50,000. And that was for the chapter grants. We didn't have any state grant applications last year. And so we're looking forward to continuing that momentum leading into 2021. And we hope that the 95,000 will be given out this year. So bring in those applications. So if you want, I can tell you how to get to the applications and the process.
I'm going to share my screen.
Awesome.
That would be perfect. Thank you, guys.
See, that's why we have the young ones on here, because us old ones, don't have this down yet.
So no worries, again, Terry. I have somebody in my chapter that helps me with all that.
So again, our website is USJC, the initials US Jaycees Foundation.com. And first of all, if you go to the About tab, we have on here our history of the JCs. And if you ever have any extra time, this is long, long gone. We have it through, I think, the 80s or 90s. And there is so much information about our history of the US Jaycees. If it's exciting to read and to get ideas on what chapters have done through the years. It gives information about all of the presidents within those decades, and then the major projects and successes of each of those decades. So again, if you ever have any time, you're bored at work or something, just hop online and read that. And then it also gives it shows all of our trustees under About, and obviously our creed, which we all believe in the same thing. You can tell which ones have held offices because they're in suits and ties, and then the rest of us, they just pulled a picture off our social media, I think. But if you go to the programs tab and hit grants, We have a couple different documents here. So we have two different grants that we give out. One is the state and local chapter impact grant, and that's your normal grant that would help you with the local project or state project. And then we have the disaster and relief grants, and that is for catastrophic events that you would be assisting your community in helping through that catastrophic event. So Houston International Jaycees have done a lot because unfortunately they've had some natural disasters in the last few years, and we've helped them with those projects. Last year, we also helped in a couple local projects that did mask distribution and food banks because of what was happening with the COVID vaccine or the COVID virus. So if we go back up to the chapter and state grants, the first document is a state and local chapter impact grant application guidelines. And it just gives you a little idea of what we're looking for as a foundation, those things that we can and will support financially, and those things that we don't typically support. So first of all, it does require that you fill out the one-page application and then attach a completed PMG. And I know that sometimes chapters don't typically do the PMGs, but it's important, one, that you have the records of the plans to run the project, but it also helps us as a foundation look at the details of how you're going to run the project, what the impact of the project will be, and what your goals and everything are, and then also the budget. You do have to have either your local or state president. If it's a local grant, the local president has to sign the application. If it's a state application, the state president must sign it. We would appreciate that you submit it 60 days prior to your project so that we have a little time to process it, get it through the trustees for the vote and everything. We do understand that sometimes you can't meet that 60 days, and we will consider that. But the sooner you get it in, the easier it is for us to process it and get the money to you. The maximum that we will give is $5,000 per grant, and we will only do up to 50% of your actual budget. And the reason we do that is we believe that the chapters need to have a vested interest in their project. And that can either be, the other 50% can either be through chapter funds or through additional fundraising, maybe through business partners, community partners, fundraising, whatever, but we will not support more than 50% of the actual budget. Again, our membership is the main focus, and so it must have a membership component to the project, whether it be recruiting members, retention of your current members. And I know sometimes, you think, well, if I'm running this children's shopping spree, how am I going to do recruitment? Well, it's as easy as if you're working with Walmart to do special hours for the shopping. You go to the manager, you talk to them about what the Jaycees are all about, what JCI can bring to their employees, and you ask them for a list of their employees that are of age, and you try to recruit that way. So there's every project you run, you can put a membership component in it. And then just knowledge for you that we could possibly consult with either your state or your national organization just to get additional information about the project and the chapter itself. Understand that our grants are considered restricted funds, which means that if you ask us to fund this project, that's the only thing that the money can be spent on. So if you finish the project and you find out you didn't need all of the money that we gave in the grant, we do ask that it be returned to us within 30 days after the project. We do not fund third-party fundraising. So in other words, if you're saying to us, will you give us some money so that we can then give it to the cancer walk? our answer would be no, because we want the chapter itself to spend the money, not just to give it to another organization to spend the money. And then in addition, we typically don't do capital projects, and that would be buildings, equipment, and upkeep of those things. However, Justin and I did get the approval for some playground to be built last year, and we did fund some of that for a chapter. So there are things that we can get through, but that's not typically something we do.
Right. When I was going to add, I mean, of course, I'm the person, I ask for forgiveness later, and I try for everything. And so, you know, my advice to any chapter is that if you can add a huge membership recruitment component to your project, you know, if it was building that community playground or something, but you gave us like 50 different strategies of how you were going to make your chapter known throughout the community and recruit a ton of people, I don't see why we wouldn't really then take a hard look at it and look at granting the money out.
Amen.
And I was going to add, because I mean, we've had some chapters and they fill out the PMG, and there's a part in the PMG that says how many members do you plan to recruit, and you can list the number there. And I think what we would like to see in the grant applications is just a little explanation of your goals of recruiting and how you are planning to do it. Because if you just throw out that number, and we don't know if you're recruiting everyone or if you're just going to recruit one person. And yes, we definitely agree that you should not be recruiting 1,000 people that might be okay members. You need to, we'd rather you recruit 5 to 10 people that are going to be JCs for life and get them involved right away. So that's definitely our strategy. It's just looking at just making sure that there is being thought put in that, oh, we're going to put a press release out, or we're going to have these flyers that go in this piece that's going to go out to young people, or whatever that might be, so that we know that you are focused on the strategy of communicating outwardly about what your chapter is here to do for these potential members.
So a quick question based on that. One of the local chapters here has looked at partnering with the Girl Scouts. They, in 2018, put a food bank at one of our buildings, like a free little pantry, and we would like to extend that project as a joint venture. So there's two folds to that. There is creating that relationship with young women and becoming mentors for them as JCs in our community, but also helping to solve a long-term community problem of homelessness and hunger in our kind of underprivileged community. Would that be something that the foundation would consider giving a grant for as a partnership program, or because we're coexisting with another organization, it would kind of be off the table?
I personally think it would be a good project, especially if you put in the focus and emphasis of working with the young ladies and helping them become future community leaders, and hopefully through our organization. So I think partnering with another organization doesn't necessarily mean you won't be considered. It's that if you're just handing them the money, but it sounds like this project is working hand in hand with them to make this happen. So I think it would be considered. I think also, just from last year, we had a chapter that did a food pantry and did a major donation of products that it came through, and it was approved through the foundation.
Yeah, I think as long as the project is worked through, that it's your project and you're partnering with that group, or again, we just don't want you asking for money and then you're just writing a check to the Girl Scouts so the Girl Scouts can go all fill this pantry, versus you're working together, you're mentoring them, you're fundraising a certain amount of money to buy products or whatever you need to fill it. There's just a different way to think through it other than writing a check and handing it over to another group to make the impact.
Thank you guys. Does anyone else have questions about maybe a specific project idea? I know that Terry mentioned playgrounds, and I've talked to somebody who's looking at doing a playground.
I think too, Bethany, in that, and you and I had talked about the playground when we were out in Billings. And with that, as long as, if the focus is on partnering with other community organizations and getting the name of the JCI chapter into the community, and trying to find members of community leaders and active community people, when you put that focus on it, it becomes more than just buying equipment.
Right.
And I think you talked about how they're trying to get their name into the community, but through this project. So I think that makes it different than just buying the equipment.
Right.
So President Jenny from Wyoming cannot be here tonight, but she did have a question she submitted, and that was, what are some of the ways that the foundation can help chapters and states that we're underutilizing? And I think you guys have touched on this a little bit in general, that no one applied for grants until last year.
Right. So is this question about the chapters and states are underutilizing the foundation?
Correct.
I mean, my advice is that our states, our state leaders communicate this opportunity outwardly. I mean, we can only send it in an email or post on social enough times for people to be able to happen to possibly see that, especially when we're not paying for social advertising to make it visible. But it's again, just sharing this opportunity. And also other advice would be, when you get a response back from us that it's not necessarily approved yet, but here's some feedback. I want to give out all $95,000 and more possibly. And so I'm messaging back individuals to just go back, rework some things, add some more strategy on membership recruitment and strategy. And that way, when you know, Terry and I share this with other board members, we're able to help advocate for the membership and get you as much money as possible so you can get out and do these projects. I know a lot of people kind of get upset that we're questioning their grant or the value of it, and there's no less value of these projects. These projects that come in are freaking amazing, and there's no downplaying that. And so in the end, it's almost, you know, this also happens with awards. It seems like sometimes people get awarded because someone wrote an amazing application, and that's the same thing in the grant world. And so I really recommend collaborating with other team members to read over the grants too as you send it, and have a little meeting, like an hour-long meeting where you say, okay, this is what we're going to submit. Does it seem like this is going to strike gold and that we're going to get this? And again, like, we're not turning them down. We're coming back to say, hey, we noticed this. Could you talk a little bit more about this area so that we're more confident in granting as much money as possible to you?
I think also, first of all, Justin did an amazing job last year putting us on social media to help get the word out to our chapters. And that certainly helped get us some applications. But I think Justin and I's thoughts are that we also want to mentor our JCs and our chapters. And so giving the feedback of, you know, maybe you might want to look at this and add this. Again, as Justin said, that's not criticizing the application at all. It's just making it stronger and making it more sellable to the people doing the looking at it and the approving of it. And so we hope JCs take that as mentorship and understand that.
I think that was actually where my question was going to come in, is how much collaborative effort that there actually is, because I can understand that there's not really a whole lot of resources available to help somebody fill out the application itself. But in the same way, if the application was to be like, if the filling out of the application was so daunting, that would be the reason why people weren't filling it out in the beginning. So it was like, if I'm just gonna take a stab at this, how much collaborative effort comes back from the from y'all's side of it, in order so that we can understand how to restructure sentences, how to make sure that we're hitting specific points, and make sure that we're, and maybe there are things that we could do with a project that we might not have thought about beforehand. I think that was kind of like what I was thinking through, is like, well, I don't know how we could make that work, but also y'all might have an example to pass back.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like if you submit an application and you're quite like, maybe you just kind of rush through it, we're not going to just say no, like you're not getting it, by F you. we're gonna come back and say, hey, like here's some really great points out of this project and this opportunity, and here's what we're gonna ask of you to go back and look at. And for me, I am super collaborative, and this, I mean, for the current year, I'm the one first seeing the applications and sharing it with the committee. And so I'm gonna go back to you and want to collaborate with you and figure out how to make this the best thing. And I was sending emails today with a chapter, and they're the ones that said, like, well, we said we're going to recruit 5 people, and we're not going to recruit thousands of people because we don't have the bandwidth to onboard more than that, and that's enough to us. And I said, okay, well, I understand that. I just want to know how you are recruiting them then, and just write. And they said they had strategy, and I was like, just write out the strategy then, because that's all I need my foundation members to know, is that their strategy. But then I kind of threw it back and said, it's a project that's going to impact seniors in high school. And so I said, okay, well, 1, you can try to recruit the seniors. 2, you could maybe recruit their parents or family members of those people. You could recruit the teachers in the high school. You could recruit some of the people around the businesses or the products that are getting put into this gift opportunity. And so I want to, like, are you putting a press release out to share that you're doing this opportunity so that other people can know what you're doing? So, like, I think when we're doing a project, we have blinders on because we're so focused on this amazing project that we're going to do, and it's going to feel so great, and these kids are going to love it, that we forget about all the opportunities that are going to really bring relevance and a spotlight to what the chapter is doing. Because then there's thousands of other young people that see this project and say, I want to do something like that. I want to be part of this. And that's the whole point of that collaborative back and forth of what we want to do to help you expand on your project, to just make it that much more impactful. And then I'll be able to give you money.
Also, are you Whit?
Yeah, I am.
Hi, Whit. So I would be more than willing to review any PMG and application prior to submission to help give feedback. And I'm sure Justin would also, if you'd like to send them to us first to ask for, a little feedback before you officially submit them. When you send it to the submit, it actually goes to, I think, 4 or 5 of our members automatically. And so people see them simultaneously. But if you would want to send it to us. So my email is tkolaz@aol.com. And I'm sure Bethany can send a note out. And Justin's is like, oh, thank you. And Justin's is, all over. Everybody knows his, right? There you go. But I would be more than willing to help do that.
Thank you.
You bet.
So we had another question if projects that were more of community events such as festivals or markets, things that aren't necessarily related to active citizen framework and ongoing projects, are those still projects that the foundation would consider giving grants for?
I mean, in my opinion, we would if there was a huge membership recruitment opportunity through that. Because if you're hosting your community festival, Strawberry Days or whatever it might be, Harvest Fest, and you're like, we're putting a booth, like we're hosting this whole thing, but we're also dedicating a whole section of a booth that is going to be about leadership development or training young people. And it's also going to share about the opportunity about JCs. And our plan is to recruit 10 members from that. Like, then we're going to probably say yes to it.
What we wouldn't say yes to is if you asked us to fund the fundraiser.
Right.
Or contribute to the fundraiser, but portions of that project, yes, that would be something we would support.
So I know this year's grants are matching grants up to $5,000. Many of our local chapters have found themselves in poor financial states due to things that have happened in the past, or just having a horrible year. Would it be a consideration of the foundation if the chapter could not raise the full $5,000 match to grant a full $5,000 grant to the chapter? Did that make sense? If they were making a good faith effort to fundraise the budget for the project and it was just not achievable.
And we had a few of those last year. I think in many of the cases, we took that under consideration if it was in good faith that they had done what they possibly could to raise money, either on their own through a fundraiser or getting business sponsorships. And we did, one of the things we do say is that the trustees has the right to suspend our guidelines, and that would be one of the cases that we would look at that. And right now, in the last year, I know our chairman, Benny, had sent a note to us and he said, you know, we're supposed to be here for when the JCs need us. And right now, they really need us. So
Right.
I think now is really a good time that we would look at that seriously.
Well, and I also think that, you know, if a chapter is, I think even that it's, again, it's just in the strategy and the communication of your project. So if you said, we were going to raise $5,000 to do this thing, but now that all fell through. So could you give us the $5,000? And what if we strategize and said, okay, they're going to give us, if you give us this $5,000, then we're going to go around the businesses asking them to match what JCI Foundation has given us so that we could create this opportunity and do this project. And again, so that shows you putting effort in raising and matching the funds that we're giving you to put on your project, so that, again, you're able to make more money and make more impact on what you're trying to affect in your community.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Does anyone else have a question or a comment?
I would like to know where everyone's from. I know that we have Champaign-Urbana on here and Kalamazoo. Where's everyone else from?
I'm from Byron, Mississippi. I'm north of Hattiesburg there. I'm a longtime JC. I might be on the wrong meeting, but I'm glad I'm here. I like,
Well, hey,
I'm
Wayne,
like
it's
you.
good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm like you, Terry. The JCs gave me so much. I'm just always looking to give something back.
Amen.
Hello. I am one of the current national vice presidents for JCI USA, and I am from Iowa.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for all the great information, and I can't wait to share it all out.
You are welcome.
Hey, I'm Cody. I'm from Nebraska.
Wow. Hi, Cody.
Hi, Terry. Hi, Justin.
Hi.
I'm Dee. I am from the Petal, Mississippi chapter. We're the chapter thinking about playground equipment.
Oh, excellent. And how big is your town, Dee?
We're pretty small. I'm not sure what our population is. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you for all the great information, though. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
Our pleasure.
I know that you know that we're here, but I'm Lana. I'm from Champaign-Urbana, and I am frantically writing notes to be able to share with the state. So thank you for all the information.
Well, hi, Lana. I'm from Chatham.
Oh, okay. All right. Not too far.
Not
Go
too
Region
far at
4.
all. Yeah, exactly. My nephew plays hockey for the U of I,
Oh, okay.
so we're over there often.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome to any of our things anytime. We mainly advertise on Facebook, but you're welcome anytime.
Well, excellent. I'll keep an eye on it.
I did record, so I will send out the recording here in a little while. And I just have to say to my home chapter in Illinois, go Region 5. If anyone knows their region director, he recruited me hard to join them last year. So with that, I just want to thank you guys all so much for your time and for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing with us what the foundation trustees do. I know for many younger JCs, it can seem very overwhelming to chair a project or to come up with where we finding money for this project. And the active citizen framework projects can seem very daunting because a lot of times there's a huge financial commitment that many of our local chapters cannot back. And so I think it's really important that we share that these resources are available. And I thank you guys for all that you do and your consideration and for being with us tonight. I know that there's probably other things that you could be doing. So with that, if no one has any additional questions, I will let everybody get back to their evening. And I will share this recording with the state presidents so they can share it with their chapters.
Excellent. Thank you all for attending. Good to see you, Bethany.
Good to
And
see you
Justin.
too. I'm hoping to see you in a few weeks if you'll be at the Region 5 region run.
I do not know what that is. So someone needs to send me information.
I'll tell
You
Miranda.
have my email address, so.
I'll tell Miranda and Trisha to send you the itinerary.
Okay, sounds
I'm
good.
just riding with someone.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.